This is the town of Bear River. There's a lot of artist shops here. There's wineries and artist studios.
Oh, look at that old house.
It's a nifty old house. Seen better days. When we go upriver just beyond the town, you can see that these houses are all on stilts. We happen to be here at low tide, and I suppose at high tide, they're not quite so high and dry. Today's Fort Anne was one of the most hotly contested pieces of land on the entire continent. It was first the homeland of the Micmacs, then it was Scottish, then French, and finally English. Fort Anne was the site of 13 attacks and 7 changes of possession. De Monts was an explorer, trader, governor of Acadia, and founder of the first permanent settlement in Canada. Low tide was a few hours ago, and it is kind of creeping in, but slowly at this point. We visited the Annapolis Tidal Plant Head Pond. It's a tidal power generating station in the Bay of Fundy. This is one of only 20 tidal generating stations in the world. It's the only one in North America, and it became operational in 1984 to test whether tidal generation of electricity was feasible in this area. What makes tidal generation possible here is the high tides in the Bay of Fundy, which are the highest in the world, and which fill a reservoir at high tide. As the tide recedes, the trapped water in the reservoir is released through a turbine that generates electricity. Given tide frequency, the station is able to generate power twice a day, 5 hours at a time. Sounds simple, but it's really quite complex. When it's operational, this plant can generate about 30 million kilowatt hours per year, which is enough for 4,500 houses. Tidal energy is a long-lasting source of renewable energy, but unfortunately it's more costly than wind and solar. And since the spring of 2019, electrical failure in one of the plant's systems has prevented actual production of electricity, but the plant is still operational to maintain the turbines. This is the Bay of Fundy, and we're kind of here at low tide. I don't see anything exciting happening. If it wasn't raining, we could go walk out on all these rocks. These boats are sitting on the ground. They are low and dry. And store all their gear in these cute painted little sheds. This is the town of Annapolis Royal with the tide out. And another little lighthouse over there. We found this wonderful bakery and restaurant in Annapolis Royal. It's owned and operated by a couple from Germany, and it features wonderful German baked goods from sweets to breads and many specialties. The founder's house was recommended to us for our anniversary dinner as the nicest restaurant in the area. It opened a year ago and quickly has become very popular. It's on the outskirts of Annapolis Royal and serves food that the owner describes as elevated dining rooted in sea and soil, and most of it's local. Interestingly, Founder's House was once the summer home of the American actor Arthur Kennedy. This is the town of Windsor, the birthplace of hockey. Ice hockey, I'm sure. Now we have the Bay of Fundy out here. This is a cute little town of Maitland on the edge, south edge of the Fundy Bay. Here's a river that has a real good tidal flow when the tide comes in, which is not now. Appears to be a pretty big city. Had no idea. Big communications tower, clock tower, pedestrian overpass. Probably really nice in the winter. This is Grand Falls, New Brunswick. Probably used to be a lot more activity here before they put that dam in, and there's a lake up behind. Here's the water coming through. I'm standing at the zip line platform, but it's not operating today. Will be this weekend because they're celebrating Canada Day. The Bay of Fundy and the St. John River. We didn't go to St. John today. We originally had planned on it. And here's the spectacular falls, at least in the spring, in Grand Falls. And then this continues on up. And up here we have the lakes in the far northeast corner of the Appalachians. And down here is Maine, very close by. Here's what the falls look like when there's more water in the river. There's a pretty good view from inside this little interpretive center. Got a big basin, little lake down there. This is the Canadian national anthem, adopted in 1980. This morning we're headed back towards Quebec. We're a couple hours north, but we're killing time. And in the town of Riviera de Loup, there's this chute. There's, I guess, a power plant up there. And we saw the dam, and here's the water coming down. Nice little waterfall. And not too far from here, this water will enter the St. Lawrence River. Okay, this is the cute town of Riviere de Loup. Here's the St. Lawrence River, and the tide is out again. Does that a couple times a day, but we never seem to catch it when it's high. Well, things didn't go as planned. Flight delay in Quebec City. We transferred to Air Canada, got caught with rainstorms in Montreal. And here we are at a W hotel in downtown Montreal at midnight. This is quite nice. Here's the soaking bathtub. Here's the very nice shower with, of course, a big rain head up there. After arriving at midnight at the hotel, we had a taxi pick us up at 6 o'clock in the morning to return to the airport. To board our plane at 8:25, but more weather delays made that 10:15.